Hey guys, haven't made a video in a while, so I wanted to look at this playset, this custom playset I put together a few years ago, and I thought I'd make a video of it while I was, going through it. I have never set this all the way up. I put it together, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. And it's so big that I couldn't find a box for it, so I keep it in this big plastic tub that you see here. And I couldn't draw on it, so I just drew a title card for it that I taped to the top of it. So anyway, it's called Hellgate Fortress. And, it's a sword and sorcery fantasy horror type playset. And on the title card, of course, it's got the name of it, and this guy on the left here is he is symbolic of the demonic army who opened the Hellgate and is trying to protect it and keep the good guys from coming in and shutting it down. And this character on the right is an elven sorceress who's casting a spell. Got the Doctor Strange hands. But anyway, she is symbolic of the heroic alliance. Think the Lord of the Rings, where they had the big battles, and you had the evil side, with the orcs and the evil men and trolls and all that. Well, then you had the good guys with the elves and dwarves and all. Well, we've got a situation like that here. But anyway, let me show you what the inside of the tub looks like when it's full of all this crap before I proceed. Okay, there's some of the stuff on top. Got some river sections, the floor of the castle, and a pond. And I'll get this out of the way real quick here. And there's the Hellgate. And then there's all the figures, and there is a castle down there somewhere. A tomb warrior castle that is the fortress I use, for the Hellgate. So the evil side can try to protect it, keep it from being shut down. Okay, here are some of the contents. This is pretty much the heroic alliance. Got the human knights over here. 4 of these guys carrying banners. 4 guys blowing these bugles. And got some archers here. There's 7 of those. There are 7 swordsmen. There are 8 spearmen. Now, these are like rubber, so, they bend real easy, and some of them don't stay in shape too good. These guys came from the Tomb Warrior set that I bought. It had a messed up box, but I was going to use it for this custom set anyway, so I didn't care. Then we got the guys on horseback, 4 sword and shield guys, and 4 with pike axe. This guy's pike axe. I mean, you can bend these things back, but the problem is they don't retain their shape too good. But that's what you deal with when you're fooling with these different styles of figures. These are all the 54 1/32 millimeter, or the 54 millimeter 1/32 scale figures, pretty much. Okay, and then we got some of these green figures here. These actually came from one of those buckets of a fantasy soldier set kind of like Lord of the Rings or whatever, but they were sold at Toys R Us a few years ago. They might still be, I don't know. I know that there are a few Toys R Us pop back up or whatever. And so anyway, they're called True Heroes, I think. But got some elves here, some archers. There's 7 of those. Elven female wizards. 2 of those with the staff and like 5 of them with wands. A couple of them with 2 swords. And back here we have, these are actually dwarves with hammer and shield. And here's a couple of, I guess, human barbarians with 2-handed swords. And most of the rest of these are figures from, I bought from various eBay sellers that were based in Russia. And I believe they're put out by the Tenolog company. I think they kind of dropped off the map. They might have been banned by eBay after the war started, but I think some of them have popped back up from Albania or whatever. But anyway, we'll look at some of those because they're really nice figures. Here are some centaurs, 4 of those. Really heavy, nicely sculpted figures. The centaurs. There's a centaur with spear and shield. Yeah, all these are the good guys. Their mission is to go and shut down the Hellgate. It's not going to be easy. Here's another centaur with a flail and a sword. And here are some human knights. Good thing about these Tenolog figures, they're all different. They're all unique. They're like 5 to a set. Unless, for the really big ones, they're a little bit less, but it's a guy with a crossbow. Like there are 4 of the centaurs because they're really big. And here is one of the knights, crusaders, I guess. You know, they might have holy water and, you know, like a paladin in D&D probably. And there's that guy. Okay, now we've got the elves. Classic elf with the longbow. And there's another elf drawing an arrow. Yeah, these Tenolog figures are really nice. I'm glad I bought all these years ago before, you know, the inflation drove the price of everything up to where it's hard to afford anything now. And also because of that war over there, a lot of the Russian sellers disappeared. And I mean, I read that they were banned on eBay. I don't know. I haven't searched this stuff out in a long time. There's another elf. Then you got these really tough looking elves with these, like this pickaxe glaive looking weapon here. And there's one with a bow. And here is a guy with plate armor and wicked looking sword and shield. Yeah, the camera just does not want to comply with all this junk in the background here. It wants to focus on that no matter what I do, but try to get it to do a little better here. So yeah, you can see the nice craftsmanship, the great sculpts. And you know, it's good quality plastic too. It's not got a lot of flashing. These were mildly expensive, even before all the crazy inflation. I don't know what they'd be now. There's a guy with a glaive and a shield. And here's another elf with a big wicked sword and a shield. Shield on his back. And we've got these guys here are like Vikings or Norsemen, I guess. You know, they're just humans from the north that would have joined the alliance to try to shut down the Hellgate. I'm sure a lot of people have played Oblivion, the video game, the Elder Scrolls 4, I think, Oblivion. This game, the story behind it's quite similar to Oblivion, you know. Only instead of going into the Hellgate, these guys are just trying to get their magic users up to the thing so they can try to shut it down from this side. Of course, you know, maybe they would have to go into it. That depends on, I haven't written out any strict guidelines for the story behind it. It's kind of flexible like most playsets are. The person, you know, that's directing the action or playing with it, if you're a kid or whatever, is going to decide what the real story is anyway. So you just give a broad outline and then let the person using it take it from there. And there's a dude with an axe. War axe. And I've got some cool dwarves here. I mean, these are really dwarves, man. They plate with warhammers and, you know, badass looking dudes. And here's one with a big punch blade and an axe. Some wicked looking armor. And here's a guy with big axe and a cool shield. One with a battle axe. There aren't many orcs on the opposing side in this playset, but there's a lot of undead. So these dwarves are going to be chopping up a whole lot of undead. There's one with a flail, a spiked ball on the end of it, and a shield. Cool dwarves. And these guys, I guess these guys are the paladins, really. I mean, they look like the superheroes of the group. And, you know, they probably got some spells and spells against undead and holy water and things like that, I'd say. If you follow the standard fantasy backgrounds for things like that. And there's a female with a crossbow with her helmet off. And she's got a shield. And there's one with a really badass looking hammer. Really cool helmets. These dudes look like Thor, man. In full armor. And here's one with a big, thick sword. And got these guys. These are probably more Viking type guys from the north that joined up. I mean, they're probably really tough, but their degrees of toughness, and those paladins are probably at the top. And there's a guy with a bow. And here's this dude. He's got a big sword. This guy, big two-handed sword. Seems like the camera focuses on certain colors a lot better than others. And then there's that one there with an axe and sword. Now, I'm going to try it again with this guy because he is spectacular. Can get it to focus good, but, well, it's kind of focusing there. You can kind of see that. That is a wicked-looking glaive-type weapon he's got, man. And that shield, pretty awesome. Now, we come to these guys. It's Conan. You know, I mean, the person using the set can play it different ways. Hey, it could actually be Conan. Maybe the good guys cast a huge summoning to summon a great hero from another time or another dimension or whatever. Or it could be Conan from a guy that just looks like Conan. I mean, you know, that is like a parallel version of Conan for this planet. That's named something else or whatever. I don't know. And I mean, there's different ways you can play it, but that Conan figure is pretty awesome. Now, this isn't Tenalog. I believe this was 3D printed. I bought this. I forget where I got it. I think I got it off eBay. And then Xena. Same thing about Xena. It could actually be, you know, the Xena from her time-space continuum, or, you know, that's summoned to this one through a big-time spell. Or it could be a person like Xena on this world that joined up because she's a big hero, you know. Got the chakram and the sword. And hey, with Conan and Xena, how can you lose, right? Of course, you haven't seen the bad guys yet. And I thought I'd show, I had a little bit of room on the table for this. I cut out some river sections, more like stream sections, because there's a bridge in this set. There's a couple of bends that you can use to like make them curve around. And there's a pond, and got these really cool trees. Now, these came from that True Heroes set. These are some of the best trees I've ever seen for a playset. They're better than the Marks trees used to be. And there are 4 of them. And, you know, they're not huge, but they're big enough that they look like a tree beside the 1/32 scale figures. And there's not a big forest around, but they look good just kind of put off to the edge to accentuate the thing. You'll see it when I set it up. And I can't set it up on this table at all. Like I was saying before, it'll have to be on the floor. And this is going to be a long video. So let me pause this and I'll set up the bad guys. Okay. Here's all the bad guys. The demonic axis or whatever. They're the ones that are trying to keep the Hellgate open so that the nether spawn can come through and invade the world. You know how it goes. All all these are undead. They're, you know, reanimated skeletons with weapons. And they are all from that Tomb Warrior castle set. Guys with spears and swords, and some of them are pretty warped, but that's just because the material that these are molded in is very flexible. It's like a hard rubber. And it looks like we've got 6 with spear, 5 with flail. Take a look at those. These actual poses were made in more standard type rigid plastic and sold with pirates in little play sets by Toy Smith. I've got some of those. I like them better than this rubber stuff. These are cool in that, you know, a lot of them are painted with some highlights and stuff, but I don't know. They're just too flexible. They get warped real easy, and the weapons bend, and you know, just do the best you can with it. They still look pretty cool. It looks like there are 7 of them with swords, and 7 archers, and 6 of them with a couple of axes. And back here, now these are really cool. Problem is they have a hard time standing up. These are undead horses. Show you what these guys look like. Now, it's hard to make them stand up on this tablecloth, but I think I'll have better success when I get them on the floor and do the big setup with the castle and everything. Anyway, these undead horses are really cool, I think. They remind me a lot of the Blind Dead movies. Tombs of the Blind Dead, and, you know, Return of the Evil Dead, and of course the Ghost Galleon. That was the third one. That didn't have the horses in it, but they were on a ghost ship in that one. And the last one, one of the best, Night of the Seagulls. Anyway, there are 7 of those undead horses with riders. And then we have 6 of these orcs from that True Heroes playset bucket. Sold at Toys R Us. These guys have axes, and here are some cool minotaurs. I believe these are by that Tenolog company from Russia. Big, bulky, impressive minotaurs. I mean, as cool as these figures look, it's a shame that it's just a place that you just set them up, you know, in different ways. And of course, you could use game rules with them, you know, like tabletop game rules. I think that these Tenolog figures are actually meant to be played with tabletop game rules. I've never used them that way. I just ordered a few for these custom play sets. But, you know, it'd be neat to game it out and actually see who won the big fight. 4 of the Minotaurs. Now, these guys are like, I don't know, they're obviously evil. They've got squid-like heads. Maybe they worship Cthulhu. I don't know. But, you know, they're impressive, and they look like they could kick some butt. There's a female with squid head and mammary glands. Oh, well, they're making them for us humans, so. And there's a cool looking dude. Well, let's see, let me get the old construction paper here and block off some of this Stuff that the camera gets so confused by in the back. See that? The back of that dude's head hanging down? It's like their heads are like squids. That one's got a big mouthful of teeth there, I guess. And a flail and an axe. Still cool. Weird but cool. There is a wicked looking weapon. Take a lot of strength to wield something like that, but these monsters have it, I'm pretty sure. And there's another one. The squid-headed dudes. Don't know the name of them. Basically, I just went through and, like 5 or 6 years ago or whenever it was, and grabbed a bunch of cool-looking stuff. I figured it's a custom play set. They can be whatever I want it to be. So now these are undead here. These are Chaos Warriors, probably. Powerful undead in plate with big weapons. And maybe magic to boot. They would be the evil paladins version of this army. The anti-paladins or whatever. Looks like kind of like Baphomet's head on that shield there, standard, shield standard. They're just bad guys, man. Couple of axes. They're big freaking axes. Yeah, I mean, geez, from the look of these guys, that would be an epic clash, you know, if you made rules or had rules for it and gamed it all out and see who was standing at the end of the fight. And these are more undead. Powerful undead with armor and weapons. Yeah, this tablecloth doesn't lend itself well to some of these figures standing up too well. It'll be a little better when I get it on the floor because that's a hard, smooth surface. And I'll need to get all this junk down on the floor anyway to set it up. I mean, you haven't even seen the castle yet. These are just the opposing sides, you know, and some of the other components. And there's a guy with a couple of blades. And we've got the werewolves. Big, bulky, mean-looking werewolves with weapons. You know, as tough as the heroes looked, you know, the villains look even tougher, I think. Even with Xena and Conan on the hero's side, they got a ways, you know, they've got an uphill climb. And there is a werewolf looking tough there, doing a big presence attack. A big growl or howl or whatever. And there's the last werewolf. There are 4 of them. That one's got a wicked looking blade. And we've got this one here. This is the keeper of the Hellgate, the one that's kind of in charge of this, working for whichever dark god is trying to send forces to the world. This being here is in charge, and it's no doubt got a lot of power pumped into it, so It may be one of the most powerful figures on the board. Probably is. Not just in charge, but I mean, you know, actually a very powerful combatant. And this is an MPC Creature of Doom figure from 1964. Of course, symbolic of death. And we got some dragons. Got to have some dragons. Here's a small one. This came from that True Heroes set. This is not overly impressive. I figure it's maybe one of the pets or whatever of one of the big time bad guys, maybe that keeper's underling or whatever. And these more impressive looking dragons here, this three-headed one, these are from the Tomb Warrior set. These are made by a company called Toy Smith. And these things make a difference on the battlefield, I'm sure. You know, I mean, Conan's a bad guy, but it's you don't want to just go straight into this thing here. You have to figure some stuff out, use some magic spells, use some strategy. All right. And I also put out a couple of parts of the inside of the castle. This is I figure it's the device used to keep the gate up, used to focus the power of the magic to keep the gate going. And that'll be on the inside of the castle. And here's you know, some things piled up here like rock walls or whatever, and they've got some of these cannon and catapult set up outside the thing. They're not siege engines, I figured, that were brought up by the good guys. I mean, you could play it that way if you wanted to, but I just use them outside of the castle because the good guys, the majority of them are coming up on foot. A few of the humans are on horseback, but they're just trying to rally everybody together and get there as quick as possible before things get out of control. And here's a couple of columns on the inside with the symbol of death, you know, on the shield. And all right. So there's all the villains. There's the evil army. I will pause it again and set up the castle. I'm going to set it up on top of this table first, and then later I'll set everything up in the floor. Okay, here we have the Hellgate Fortress itself, the Tomb Warrior Castle, and I drew that gate section for the back and the floor and inked all of that. A lot of work involved with that, but you can see from the size of this practically fills up this tabletop, just the castle. And I put the dragons and trees up there for the heck of it. But it'd be impossible to try to set this thing up on a table. That's why I'm going to have to, when I do set it all up, I'm going to have to move this table and put it in the floor. And it's going to fill up most of the room probably. But anyway, this is what the, you know, the castle looks like. And I'm going to take this camera loose here and we'll have a dragon's eye view. Do the little fly around like I do with my other playset videos when it's set up. And there's one of the dragons, the three-headed dragon. And there's the front of the fortress, and there's the keeper overseeing everything from up there. It, you know, the way I had it figured, it has very powerful, I mean, it's not even really spells with that thing, it's just powers, and it creates, you know, things to fight for it and summons things, and probably how a lot of this stuff got here. But anyway, the gate, also a lot of it was brought through the gate itself, and that's where the hordes are going to come pouring through later after they've all assembled on the other side. And there's that device in the middle, that resonance device that keeps the gate up. That gate on the front, not the magic gate, but this actual physical gate here with the skull on it, it opens. It slides up and down. It's like a portcullis. I'm not going to fool with that now, but it works. And it's got, you know, I've got a couple of these cannons up top here. This Tomb Warrior castle came with 4 of those cannons, and I think they actually shoot. They've got springs in there, and the projectile is, I believe, has a fireball on the end of it, like it's shooting fireballs. And this used one I bought only came with 2 of the cannons and none of the projectiles, which is not a big deal, you know. It'd be nice to have them, but since I don't, it's not a big deal. On the back there is where the other 2 cannons go. And there's a cage in there where they can, the bad guys can house captives to do whatever nefarious things with them that they please. And there's a small dragon in there for the heck of it. And the gate is, I thought about maybe trying to do it like Oblivion Gates, but I thought, well, maybe a spiraling energy pattern with the Jack Kirby crackle, you know, might be better, so that's what I went with. That hot pink color kind of stands out, and I used that for, you know, the branding of the set as well for this thing I drew here. And there's that other big dragon by Toysmith. So what I'm going to do is actually do another video, because this one is already nearly 40 minutes. And I'm going to do another one where I actually set it up later on. You know, I'll release it in a few days or whatever. But anyway, there's all the components to the thing. There's no paperwork. I mean, I could have drawn up like a comic book style background for it, which I thought about, but I really didn't want to get into all that. It's a lot of work. I just wanted to put the playset together, and you know, I've been doing these custom playsets of different genres, and I hadn't done a sword and sorcery version yet, so I thought I'd do a sword and sorcery / high fantasy version, and this is it. So there is the Hellgate Fortress, and I will set it up in another video to follow later. See ya.